Hi, I'm Scott Driver, and thank you so much for viewing this presentation on my research design portfolio that includes quantitative analysis. In my introduction, I first start out addressing a trend that's going on in the United States of America. I talk about how there's been a complete increase in the amount of ELL students in the United States, and that's everywhere, whether it's rural, suburban, inner city, doesn't matter. ELL population is going up across the United States, and in 2007 it was about 3.8 million, and now it's roughly around 5 million. And one of the best ways to educate these students is through problem-based learning. This is what I learned through my literature review. Problem-based learning has been able to increase student achievements, particularly in Title I inner city schools, to help somewhat bridge the achievement gap, and has been shown to increase the writing ability of ELL students outside of science class. In English and history classes is where they've primarily been using it, as well as English as a foreign language. The biggest thing is nobody has been really looking into the data for ELL students. They've been doing all the students as a whole. So therefore, we don't really know if it is improving ELL students, because you could have everybody else going up. Well, the ELL students are staying flat, and that's still going to show you an increase across all students, but nobody really breaks it down by demographic, which leads us into the problem. There's a huge achievement gap between ELL and non-ELL students. And that achievement gap in writing, as well as math, has been growing over the last couple years, even more so than it normally is. And problem-based learning is a way to try and help close that gap, which led into my research question, which was problem-based learning with ELL writing supports will increase and should increase the writing ability of ELL students. And that's what I want to prove, is that it can. So my content and my participants that I was focusing on, at the beginning of the paper, it states all the United States, but I focused it into a Title I inner city school that is a 3-star school. In fact, this middle school, because I'm a middle school teacher and I wanted to focus primarily on middle school students, started out as a 2-star school a couple years ago, moved up to a 3-star school, and was borderline a 4-star school. And this is a Title I inner city school that primarily serves Hispanic and ELL students. The participants in this study will be 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students, starting as young as age 11 and going up as high as age 15. And it will be the science classes, which I chose 4 science classes from each grade level, which would include 2 teachers in 6th grade, 2 in 7th, and 2 in 8th, which leads us into the procedures. For the procedures for this, each teacher will first of all have to take a couple days of professional developments on learning how to use the intervention, which is ELL strategies incorporated within their normal problem-based learning units. Because each teacher is going to use the same unit per grade level. So 6th grade teachers are going to do 1 problem-based learning, 7th grade will do 1, and 8th grade will do 1. This is so that the teachers are comfortable with the material. And as the researcher, I'll be able to say, hey, it is not the material that is causing this. It's going to be the same across the board, whether they're in the control class or the intervention class. I used convenient sampling for the sampling of the students because these students are most convenient to me. And some of them I actually already know. So it builds that relationship a little bit to help them get really excited about going to class, and whether they're in the control group or the intervention group, they will not know. They will take a pre-writing assessment, and then they will take that same assessment as a post-writing assessment to determine what they learned throughout the problem-based learning unit. And like I said, they won't know whether they're in the control group or the intervention group, because I'm going to work with the counselors to put them in their different separate groups. We will try to make the classes as even as possible, but I am not going to try and control for certain variables like gender and as well as their schedule, because some of the students are going to be getting outside help, and I know this. But when I focus just on the ELL students, they are all going to be having an ELL class that's going to help them with reading and writing. So that is something that I did not have to worry about because it's already getting controlled and it's the same across the board. The ethical concerns with this is getting permission for the site and getting permission for the teachers and the students to participate in it. The other thing I'm going to do is aggregate the data. So it won't just be one student with their name and then their data next to it. It's going to be all the students, all the ELL, all the students together, all the non-ELL, and I'm actually going to separate out and do as well another group that's the long-term ELL students. They will all be given pseudonames because name doesn't matter. It's just all growth. The teachers will also be given pseudonames, and the only people seeing this data will be myself. And I'm going to as well code their names and the class periods so that none of this gets back to admin, because I don't want the teachers to be affected. And finally, the reflection. I chose quantitative because I need to do a direct comparison and find causation. I really like quantitative because I can get really involved in it, but qualitative does not give causation, which is the reason why I went with quantitative. It was fairly easy to align, and I really enjoyed the feedback from not only you, Dr. Dorn, but also from Prakash, who helped me throughout the process.